Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, and welcome to the program. You want me to put it up there?
Yes.
Here, just hand it. Here it is. Susan's picture, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you think anybody even notices that?
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Yeah.
There she is.
There she is.
Okay. Hello and welcome. Another frigid February day, and it's a Tuesday, and that means, the aforementioned kid sister, Susan, is joining us from St. Louis. Hi, Suze!
Hi, I was aforementioned. What did you say about me?
Oh, you didn't hear that?
No.
Well, it was right before we went on the air. Jess all of a sudden said, "Oh, Susan's picture!" And she had failed in her responsibilities to dress the set, I believe is what they said. So anyway, we got you. We got
okay.
There you are. We used to have a champagne flute next to you. We gave that up. It's too early in the morning for champagne anyway.
Yeah, besides it makes me sound like Kathy Leah or Hoda Kopke or Kopi or whatever.
Cosby.
I don't know who that woman. I know I've heard of her. She's that woman who's on with what's her name?
Kathy Lee.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But I don't ever.
No, I don't
Never
watch
have
it either.
watched
But
that.
apparently they drink through their whole show.
I doubt that. I mean, I know that's their shtick, but do you
That's
really
their
think?
shtick, right?
I don't know. And I think they're setting a rather bad example for all the women who are at home watching them drinking at what? 9 in the morning? Is that when they're on? Sort of 9-ish?
No, I think they're mostly on like at 10 or 10
Oh,
or 11,
10.
maybe.
Well, 10. That's different.
Brunch already.
Yeah, right. Jeez. Bring out the Bloody Marys. 10. All right. Well, So it has to be about a month or so ago that I had said that I thought Shirley Temple was dead. And then I realized she wasn't, because if she had been, I would have heard about it.
Right, and now don't you feel bad?
No, you think it's something I said? I'm just a little... I thought she was older than 85.
Yeah, I did too.
But you know why that is? You know why? Because she was
we watched her as a little girl from the time we were little girls.
Well, we weren't even born. She was a teeny-weeny star at the age of like 3. So,
Right.
yeah.
I think she started when she was 3 or 4.
Amazing.
And she was really amazing.
She really was amazing. I mean, when you look, I remember the first time that I did see a Shirley Temple movie, I was just dumbfounded that a child that young could, first of all, what? Dance so well, sing so well, know her lines and manage to act and do all that stuff so well.
She could make you cry.
She was amazing. And so cute. Little dimples. Shirley Temple. There has never been, before or since, a more popular child star. And she was, in fact, more popular than any star in the 30s. The next biggest Hollywood star was Clark Gable, and he trailed her by a mile. She was photographed more than Franklin Delano Roosevelt, much to his chagrin, apparently. She received more mail than Greta Garbo. So she reigned supreme in the 30s and into the 40s, and amazingly did what so few people can do, which is she became a functional.
She grew up to be a normal person. She was clearly brilliant.
So she was a diplomat. I forget what country. Was it like something like Czechoslovakia or something?
I don't know, but she managed. I mean, she earned it. She was taken seriously. She did a good job.
Yeah, amazing. What a run. Shirley Temple.
Black. Shirley Temple Black.
She married some guy named Black, I guess. What a cutie. So now, I'm a Turner Classic Movie addict, and so I know what they're going to do now. I'm not going to be able to turn that station on for the next week without having a Shirley Temple movie on. But you know what? It's amazing.
Yeah, some of them are really, really wonderful. Others are merely cute, but some of them are really wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, she even took on, sort of really dramatic roles.
Dramatic stuff.
Yeah. So, alrighty. Rest in peace, you adorable thing who gave so many people pleasure in such a dark period in American history. I mean, can you imagine if people could scrape together the whatever it took to get into a movie theater during the Depression, and how that would lift your spirits to see that extraordinary child. Wow. Anyway, so there's that. Now, Susan, this one's for you, because I think last week I mentioned how there were two very politically connected, well, one was the former lieutenant governor of, I want to say, Nevada, and the other was the daughter of the former governor, Paul Laxalt, and both of those women had eschewed their membership in the Republican Party and said they simply couldn't be associated with it anymore. And coming from two women, one an office holder, one the daughter of an office holder, who were it was pretty astonishing. And you were saying how that really lifts your spirits to hear that there are Republicans that are starting to do what I've wondered why it's taken so long for there to be such an exodus. You
just can't associate yourself with such total mean-spiritedness.
Exactly. And so I have another one to add to the list. And what's interesting about this, and granted, this is just a small sampling, and I don't know, but every time I see one of these stories, it is a woman. The two in Nevada, females. And I'm about to tell you about a former Republican congresswoman from the state of Florida, Republican, Anna Rivas Logan. She has now said she is leaving the Republican Party and she will register as a Democrat. And she said, so there's another office holder. And she said, the GOP of today is not the party I joined. It's not the party of my parents. It's a party that has been radicalized and held hostage by a group of extremists. So?
Yes.
And so she's Hispanic and female. And these are, those two demographic groups are the ones that people say, spell doom for the Republicans. I'll use the term of the day, going forward. Right? Those are the two. I mean, you can't, America's going to be.
We could.
Yeah. What did we used to say before people started saying going forward?
In the future?
Yeah. Yeah.
After this?
Right. From now on?
From now on?
Yeah. Whatever happened to from now on? Jeez.
Henceforth.
Yes. So, so there we have it. Also, the former state director of the Florida Hispanic Outreach for the Republican National Committee. This is the person who was in charge of bringing Hispanic voters into the Republican Party.
Yeah, left.
Left.
Right, absolutely, just left in disgust. Like, I can't sell this stuff.
No, and that's a guy. He joined the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And that's a while back. But see, this, what are they, I mean, it is interesting to watch a party commit suicide. It really is extraordinary. Would that it happened a little sooner, because I'm sure they're going to feel they have life when they win seats, in the 2014 congressional races. But 2016 and forever more after, they're screwed.
I think so, pretty much.
Unless they can literally perform some kind of a 180-degree turn, which of course is pretty hard to do without looking like a pandering hypocrite. No problem. Yeah, right. Come on, we're talking about the Republicans here. We can do this. Whatever. So, just wanted you to know that. I happened to see it. Oh. Let's get away from politics for a second. It makes me unhappy. So, did you see this? For those of you people who think the Bible was written, as the Word of God at the time and contains absolutely all truth. Some scientists in Israel have said, they're archaeologists actually, and they've said, in your Bible and like Genesis, where it says that Abraham and a servant went by camel looking to find a wife for Isaac, I don't know, something like that. And, there's camels. It's the desert. There's camels. They said, there were no camels. There were no camels when the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, in that period, there were no camels yet in Israel.
That's right.
And they've been digging around.
And I know this upsets people, but they've actually scientifically proved it.
Right. No, you know what it was, Susan? They weren't riding. Abraham was riding Tyrannosaurus.
I forgot about that.
That's right. And
I thought it was merely an ass, but you're right.
No, no, because I know that if you do the math, Abraham had to be living next door to a nice dinosaur or two or three or four. Right. So they say that all these anachronisms that are in the Bible are sort of evidence that it was written long after the events it portrays.
Or at least edited. The stories grew through the years.
Oh, okay. But
just throw a camel in here. No one will notice.
But by the time you get to the Christians, you get to Jesus, and you have the wise men riding in on their camels, right?
Right.
That was a possibility. Camels were there by the time of Jesus.
Right.
But not in the Old Testament time, because that's
not in Exodus or Genesis or
none of Deuteronomy or any of that. Not during the Kingdom of David. None of that.
Not during those first 5 books.
Right. So they think that the earliest known domesticated camels in Israel happened about the last third of the 10th century BC. So that's, quite a bit. It's almost a millennium before Jesus, they think the camel started. And the camel absolutely made that part of the world enjoy extraordinary expansion and economic success because it could, traverse all these deserts and consequently enabled a lot of trade that hadn't been able to exist before. Because
and where with trade comes shared knowledge.
And with trade comes shared knowledge, right? Exactly. So that's it. I just thought that was interesting. Camels were not, even though they're pictured in Genesis and talked about in Genesis and other of the first 5 books of the Bible, couldn't have been. Just so you know.
Don't you feel sorry for these guys? They, never imagine that science would, call them out as liars later on.
Yeah, but people, I was talking to my son the other day, and he asked me if I'd seen, and I still haven't, the debate between Bill Nye, the science guy, and some leading creationist or something. They debated. And I said, no, I hadn't. And he started, now I'm forgetting my point. He started talking about that and said he just couldn't comprehend how you could
argue the other side.
And so I said to him, I said, you cannot argue with people about faith. Faith has nothing to do with fact.
That's why it's called faith.
That's why it's faith. And that's
you just
why
have to believe.
Yeah, and that's why those of us who may have faith of our own, but also live in a reality-based world, manage to somehow do both, should save our breath, because you're never going to.
What I don't understand is why people who believe in this all-powerful God can't believe that God created science.
Exactly. And that the way this extraordinary creation of his, hers, its, is done through science. Why can't they think that?
I don't know. I simply don't understand why they can't walk hand in hand.
I don't either, and in fact,
I don't understand why. Although faith is fundamentally irrational, why a rational person who chooses to have faith can't also believe in science?
Yeah, but I mean, even though like the popes have said they exist together. I mean, plenty of leaders of major religions have. So it's just a few. I think it's like these, evangelical types.
Well, the Missouri Synod Lutherans. That's a lot of people.
No, it's a ton of people, but I don't know how that just. I mean, I'll go back to now. I'm going to sound like my son. I just don't. It's just extraordinary to me that you can compartmentalize to that extent, where you can somehow believe in some factual rendition of the Bible that it's the truth. And at the same time be a rational, functional, intelligent human being. It just astonishes me. But it happens. Lots of very bright people still, I almost said cling, which, cling to their belief, even though it's irrational. Oh, well. And speaking of camels, we get to the giraffe. That's what I thought.
I just can't even believe it, that a place that's supposed to take care of these animals would slaughter one to feed to another. Oh, excess merchandise. Excess.
Yes, excess. We have a caller. Hello there.
Hello, Clarence from Canonsburg.
Clarence, I don't know why I knew you were going to call, but I did.
Of course,
because you're the rationalist.
Although I have actually more respect for the literalist of the Bible. And them trying to put together science with the literal interpretation of the Bible. I have more respect for them. The people who sit on the fence, because either one is true and one's not true. The people who sit on the fence, either God created man and women in his image instantly, not evolved, as it says in Genesis, or evolution is the way it works.
Well,
you can't say, well, maybe God uses evolution as a mechanism to humans. That means if he created them in their image, he created them as a single-celled organism. He's a single-celled organism. They don't jive. And I have more respect for the people who make that, ridiculous.
How do you know? Wait a minute. Huh? Did you just say God is a single-cell organism?
If he created man in his image, and if you want Genesis to work, if you think God created man, and used evolution to as a mechanism, but he created them.
Then God is a single
cell organism.
I see. It would have had to start from an amoeba.
They don't jive. The Bible, and you can force them. To me, the people who are forcing, they're sitting on the fence, using both, are the people who want God to be real and want to accept science as a fact.
They want their cake and eat it too.
I actually had a long conversation with some guy on the street who handed me a pamphlet.
Are you kidding?
I spent 2 hours talking to him about this.
Do you? Did you?
Respected me for saying no, they don't jive. There's just no way. They're what is the word? Overlapping magisteria. Now, if you want to use it as a philosophy and a way of feeling hope and love and all that kind of thing, I see that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to think that there's a God that's out there, listening to prayers and answers and all that kind of, and all that kind of stuff, and you want both of those and science to be true, I don't get that.
No. Well, that's
don't get that.
That's
I
magical.
It as a psychology. I understand the psychology of it.
Right.
And the what is that called? You separate. You use not
compartmentalize.
You compartmentalize.
Right.
Yeah. And everybody compartmentalizes everything.
So this is
that's part of evolution.
Clarence, wait a minute. Clarence.
Yeah.
You actually, somebody hands you a pamphlet on the sidewalk, and you actually engage in conversation.
I knew you were right up there.
It's one of those things. Have you accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior? No.
And then
they started. And I actually warned them, Lynn. I warned them. I said, I'm really good at this. I've been doing this for like 20 years. So if you want to go through it, I'll stand here and talk to you about it. If you, I said, at the end of it, you'll probably hate my guts. But if you want to go through it, we'll go through it. Yeah. And then I go through the whole, evolution and.
Yeah, have you ever turned any of them? Of course not.
Yeah, I don't think I turned. Oh,
no.
Did I ever tell you the story about the Jehovah's Witnesses coming to my house?
Jehovah's Witness, okay.
I'll do it fast.
Okay.
I was living where I am now, but one weekend, I get a knock on the door. It's 2 young women, probably on their first time out, and and they say this thing, and I warned them that no, and then I have this long, probably 15-minute conversation on the porch, and then they left, and then the next week I get a middle-aged woman and the same 2 women, same thing, long conversation about science and all this kind of good stuff, and they left. Third week, I get the middle-aged woman, the 2 young girls, and a black guy. They figured that the black guy would probably, be able to talk to me. And so I actually had like orange juice and donuts ready for them, and invited them in the house. And had this long conversation. And I said, and then they left. And then the last week, it was like I don't know what they call him, like the priest or the head of the thing, or the preacher, or whatever. The black guy, the 2 young women,
are you
and
kidding?
The middle-aged women all came to my house, and I sat them in there, and I went through this long conversation. And that was the last time they go. Well, I think what they were doing, they weren't trying to convert me. They were trying to stop those 2 little girls from listening to me.
Well, maybe.
Why would they keep sending them
more
back?
knowledgeable about their religion. And that's why they kept bringing the 2 little girls back.
Well, maybe they were trying to show them how to counter your...
They never countered me. They never countered me. Because I have counters for counters on top of counters. I can counter because it's what I do. Like how people know Steelers. I know the arguments for just about everything. You don't know how many friends deleted me on Facebook when they argued me about it.
Well,
and here's what I do. And this is my trump. I have a list, like in a document file, of all the gods. I think there's like 1,000 on the list of just gods, that man created.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, prove to me in a way that that dismisses your God, that doesn't dismiss your God, that these gods are false. And they're gone. They can't do it. That's where faith comes in. You can't try to use evidence to justify your faith. You'll lose every time.
That's true. Yeah. Because, right.
Yeah.
But so you also, though, why don't you save your breath? Because you cannot argue.
No.
In some rational manner.
Yeah. I enjoy the argument. I learn from the argument.
Mm-hmm.
And especially on Facebook or, where you're arguing with people, there are other people, and people have actually stopped me and whispered in my ear, like at the shop of faith, Clarence, I think the same way you do, but I could never say it out loud and all this kind of good stuff. And then there are the people who never think about it. There are the people who never think about the whole argument thing. They don't even care. But, they just walk around their lives, and then when they see the argument, they're like, oh, he makes more sense than they do.
Okay, well, Clarence, I just got an email, and I would think you are going to say that this person is one of those middle people that because here's what Sandy says.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when scientists figure out how things work, they are just figuring out how God makes things work.
Yeah, and that's somebody. I always tell somebody. I said this is what I say. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 plus purple might be prettier, but it still equals 4. You don't need the purple. You don't need it. It still equals 4. It might be prettier, more beautiful, and more interesting. Might make you feel good, but you don't need the purple as the answer. You could add God in there for anything. You could just throw him in there. Why is it God, not Zeus? Why isn't it an alien? They're just figuring out how aliens work.
Mm-hmm.
You just throw God in there because that's the thing that people. Christopher Hitchens called it the first and worst science. You don't need it's not necessary. Yeah, she is one of those Smith Center.
All right, you. Nothing
the most passionate thing I'm about, or what?
I know.
I'm just blathering.
I know. Yeah, this gets you going. I know it does.
It really does.
Hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Bye. Bye. Yeah. I can no more imagine choosing to get into a conversation with somebody giving me a pamphlet on the street than I can imagine, I don't know, jumping off a bridge. I just, wow. And, I because I stand at bus stops downtown, there, and if you're standing at a bus stop, you're fair game for a lot of pamphleteers. And it does interest me to see the people that do stop and are willing to engage. But a lot of them. I sure as heck am not one. We got to get a break in here, Miss Susan. Okay, that we will. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We'll be right back.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
BergBargains.com is the best bet for great Valentine's Day deals. Log on today for exclusive deals from your favorite local restaurants like Burger, Harris Grill, Verde, Pittsburgh Grill Downtown, and Willow. Sign up for the weekly email update for your chance to win a $100 gift card from the Sewickley Spa. The all-new BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains, BergBargains.com.
Join 1 Billion Rising Pittsburgh for a global day of festive resistance to end violence against women. 1 billion women assaulted and raped worldwide is an atrocity. 1 billion people dancing to end violence is a revolution. We will rise on V-Day, February 14th, 12 to 2 p.m., Market Square. www.onebillionrisingpgh.org. Strike, dance, rise.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Chips.
And I'm Dr. Tim Chips. We have a family dental practice that's been in business for over 35 years.
We have 2 locations in the North Hills. We are in network with most major insurance companies, including United Concordia, Cigna, and UPMC.
Find Chips Dental on the web. Remember, Chips Dental.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All righty. Well, I don't know what else to say about that. I was mentioning the giraffe but it's just so awful. And then on the other hand, giraffes get killed and eaten by lions all the time.
All the time, right.
But there was something about...
They were feeding some sort of animal to those lions, so...
There's something about inviting... They had kids watching it.
They had kids watch them
get
kill
killed?
them with a bolt gun. And then cut them up and feed them to the lions.
Well, the head of this zoo is now getting death threats. He's in big trouble. But the European the group that all the zoos, European Association of Zoos, continues to back the zoo's decision, saying our aim is to safeguard for future generations a genetically diverse, healthy population of animals. And because this giraffe's genes are well represented in the breeding program, and there's no place for this giraffe in the zoo's herd. So a professor of evolutionary genetics at Cambridge said this, well, fine. So then why did you let these giraffes breed in the first place if you know you're going to off their offspring?
Right. And isn't there another zoo that might need to,
they said there
diversify their giraffe genetic pool?
Beyond Europe or something. It's just hard to take. Ick. Okay, Susan. Did you see in the New York Times Science section today that picture of the 95-year-old woman? No.
No.
There is a 95-year-old woman named Olga Kotelko, and there's been a book written about her called What Makes Olga Run, because she's a track star. She's 95. She's still... There's a picture of her hurdling. She's amazing. She holds more world records than just about anybody, 26, including high jump, hammer throw, 200-meter run. She didn't take up track and field till she was 77.
Interesting.
Jeez. And she just looks so healthy. She's not thin. She's got a hunky. And she's, I don't know. They've tested her and looked at her, and they know that there are these certain genes for longevity, but she doesn't have one of them. They said she doesn't have one of the genes associated with longevity. And also, there's a cap on your chromosomes that shorten with age, and hers showed that they're shortening at an average, at the average kind of rate. Her diet, she eats lots of red meat. She loves sauerkraut and sour milk.
Ew. Yeah.
And they said there might be something about that she likes fermented foods that could be...
I like fermented foods.
Like what?
Wine.
Who?
Wine.
Oh, wine. Yeah, but I think they were thinking more like sauerkraut and sour milk.
Well, sauerkraut isn't fermented. It's just...
It isn't?
Cooked.
Isn't it fermented?
No, it's cooked and brined.
Well, excuse me, what's fermentation?
Fermentation is when yeast gets in and starts changing the format, so that so that grapes ferment and become wine. The grape juice ferments and becomes wine, and then if it keeps fermenting, it turns into vinegar.
It says here that probiotic bacteria in her beloved fermented foods might bolster her immune system. She also eats a lot of nuts, which I've taken to doing since I read that thing that if you just eat like a handful of nuts a day, that can really improve your health. So right. I just keep a bowl of them in the kitchen, and when I'm passing through, I grab a nut or two.
But really, just, you're not very many, because they're actually,
fattening.
They tip over into too many. And
I know. I don't think I'm doing too many. Anyway, she's... this is amazing. And her one, she just says to everybody, just keep moving, which is what our mother says.
Right.
But
don't sit down.
Yeah, this woman makes our mom look like looking firm. She's just amazing. 95.
Yes, our mother is only every other day walking a few miles, and then the other day she's swimming half a mile.
I know. But
so she's doing pretty well.
No, I know she's doing very well, and more than I would be able to do. But wow. But it's not like when I turn 77 that I'll think, oh, gee, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to take up track and field. I mean, you can only do that if your knees, can take it and your hips can take it, right? I mean, most people
Yeah, but
can't.
I mean, I never exercised until I was 50, and now I'm,
in good shape.
Yeah.
Well, 77 is a little different than 50. But they say it's never too late.
It's never too late.
Anyway, just wanted to point that out. Susan, did you read Woody Allen's side of the story?
I read parts of Woody Allen's side of the story. I have to tell you, every time I start reading this stuff, I sort of feel like
none of my business.
It's none of my business. And the time to discuss this was, when 15 years ago, and shame on that prosecutor. If he had evidence, then he should have prosecuted. And if he didn't have the evidence, or if he thought this little girl was too fragile, then he needed to keep his mouth shut. But for whatever reason, the statute of limitations has passed. I have a hard time, because it's the one thing that I'm hung up on is that team of doctors from New Haven,
from
Yale, and just said that she had not been molested.
And why do you have a problem with that?
Well, I'm just saying that that piece of evidence
is pretty
makes
strong.
Me think that Woody Allen, while a creep, is not a child molester.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I think his it's very, very.
Although she could have forced him to do things to her. Her to do things to him.
Well, their conclusions, and these are the people from the Child Sexual Abuse Clinic at Yale New Haven Hospital, and the DA went to them, and they did investigation, interviewed everybody, checked all the evidence, and in their conclusion they wrote, and this is a quote, "It is our expert opinion that Dylan was not sexually abused by Mr. Allen. Further, we believe that Dylan's statements on videotape and her statements to us during our evaluation do not refer to actual events. In developing our opinion, we considered 3 hypotheses to explain Dylan's statements. First, that these statements were true and that Mr. Allen had sexually abused her. Second, that her statements were not true, but were made up by an emotionally vulnerable child who was caught up in a disturbed family and who was responding to the stresses in that family. And third, that Dylan was coached or influenced by her mother, Ms. Farrow." Those are what the experts from Yale said. Then they went on to say, while we can conclude that Dylan was not sexually abused, we cannot be definite about whether the second formulation, in other words, that she just imagined these things and this was her way of acting out all the troubles in her, or the third formulation, namely that Farrow put this in the kid's head. We cannot determine whether one or the other is by itself true. We believe that it is more likely that a combination of these 2 formulations best explains Dylan's allegations of sexual abuse.
Yeah, either one.
But they point to Farrow, Mia Farrow, and I got to tell you, he brings up some more stuff. He quotes Moses, another one of their children, who said, "My mother drummed it into me to hate my father, and for sexually molesting my sister." He now is a family therapist. Moses is. And he says, of course, Woody did not molest my sister. She loved him and looked forward to seeing him when he would visit. She never hid from him until our mother succeeded in creating the atmosphere of fear and hatred towards him. I think Mia Farrow's nuts. Is what
I think she's nuts too.
I think she's nuts.
I don't know why we look at this woman who, had high-profile relationships with lots of different famous men who, as he points out in this article, who is clearly stating that she was cheating on him while they were together. If
with
Ronan
Sinatra, right?
Is Sinatra's son,
right?
And
also, Susan. Also,
I just sort of feel like a pox on both their houses, and
go
we
away.
Stop letting rich people buy children.
But you know what? She is the one who brought this out again. She and the daughter have.
Well, this is what I was saying to you the last time we talked. That I want to know why she would think that this was a good thing to do. To hash this out in public again. And yes, she did. She started it.
Yeah, she did.
And I think she manipulated, what's his name in the New York Times to tell their story.
And Christoph. And also, Woody Allen points out that, she was just freaked at the difference in age between, she was so freaked out. And she said Woody really loved young girls. Well, he points out that when she dated, Sinatra, or was it Previn, when she was 17 herself.
Right. So I think she was just 19 with Sinatra.
I don't know.
She was whatever. She was younger with much older men.
Yeah.
And the thing with Soon Yi is that, strictly speaking, he was not her father. She was over 21. And what it shows is that he's got a real problem with what most people would see as normal boundaries. But it doesn't mean that anything he did was illegal. It simply wasn't. It might have been creepy, but there was nothing illegal about that piece of this.
Well, he thought, too, Woody Allen said that the prosecutor, I think he's talking about, did look at him, at Woody Allen, as an older man exploiting a much younger woman. And that much of the public, he acknowledges, felt the same way, that they were just free, as he put, felt the same dismay over Soon Yi and myself. But despite, he says, what it looked like, him marrying Soon Yi, our feelings were authentic, and we have been happily married for 16 years and have 2 great children, both adopted. Incidentally, coming on the heels of the media circus and false accusations, Soon Yi and I were extra carefully scrutinized by both the adoption agency and adoption courts, and everyone blessed our adoptions. Oh God. Anyway, I'm a fan of his. I said this yesterday, of his artistry, but not a fan of his. And yet, it's pretty hard to read this. Again, his seems fact-based instead of fantasy-based.
Well,
pretty hard to read it and not be on his side.
I just have the sense that I feel terrible that, what in one way or the other, that poor Dylan is a victim.
Yes.
One way or the other.
Well, one of the parents.
One of her parents abused her.
And my sense is it's Mia.
My sense has been that it's Mia too.
Yeah.
But all of that aside, this isn't for us to figure out. This was for the courts to figure out, and the courts, for whatever reason,
failed.
Decided not to prosecute.
Yeah, they punted.
And at that point, Woody Allen is presumed innocent.
But you know what?
Period.
But they punted because, I think, of the conclusions reached by the experts from that interview.
They punted because they had no evidence.
They had absolutely no evidence, and in fact, the professionals felt that either the child had made it up or Mia had made it up. and planted it in the child's. That's what they think. They think Woody Allen absolutely did not molest. They made that very clear, didn't molest this child. And and how many years ago was that? And now we're going around again. Isn't that unbelievable? And that is courtesy of, again, Mia and Dylan.
I don't blame Dylan. It's
no, because she's obviously screwed up.
I blame Mia.
Okay.
I really do. She's the one that started this whole round of stuff. And it's just...
What an
it's
odd
not a
woman.
thing that a loving mother would do.
No, what an odd woman. Anyway, Chuck writes, Lynn, Korean kimchi may be the fermented cabbage dish you're thinking of. Not sauerkraut. Kimchi is fermented?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And Chuck also writes, I could barely get through the article on the giraffe, but the writer said that many zoos offered to take it. And why wouldn't they just sterilize him and keep him? That's a good question. Don't let his genes get in. Why wouldn't they do that? Just neuter him. Caller, hi.
Hi, Lynn?
Yeah.
Hi, just a little thing on the Mia Farrow and Woody Allen thing. I have heard additional information on the Harvard study, and that they would never appear before anybody to be questioned, that everything they determined and came to was just in writing, and it was only the senior investigator who did the writing. And my question here is, do we always believe, without a doubt, scientific quotation studies? The other thing is, why now? When somebody has been abused, they say that as an adult, they should, come out and make a stance and, write out to their accuser what happened and what this accuser did to them. And you're saying that Woody Allen's writing was so, specific and so logical, and hers was not. Well, from what I've read for a 22-year-old, whatever, hers is very logical and believable. Now, here's the final thing, too, to believe. I'm not saying Mia Farrow isn't nuts, as you and your sister are saying, but the point is that you're willing to give Woody the benefit of the doubt and yet not Mia. But here's the other point. When you look at Woody's movies, everything he portrays in his movie is sexual dysfunction. So would it surprise you so much if that his movies are always said to be very biographical? So those are just my inputs. Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. I'm not even going to pick up, but whatever. I want to get back to my emails. Sauerkraut is definitely fermented, writes Tim. Check it out on Wikipedia.
Okay.
All right. And Lynn Bill writes, tell Susan that is the funniest thing I've heard in a long time. What? Woody Allen is not a priest, but he isn't a child molester. Did you say that? No.
I don't think so. I swear I didn't say that. Thank you for putting that in my mouth, but I didn't say that.
Oh, well, look. I mean, okay. We'll let the screwed up Farrow Allen family rest in peace.
Yeah. My point is only that the place to determine innocence of guilt or guilt
was long ago.
For all of these people was in court a long time ago. When that didn't happen, it's over. And we can say whatever we want, but it's over.
And the court of public opinion is the wrong place.
It's absolutely the wrong place.
None of us know what we're talking about.
Because we can all make up whatever facts that we want to, and believe me, we're making them up.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, geez, wow, gotta take a break.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Moments in Black History, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.
As a Chicago youngster, Major Robert H. Lawrence Jr. developed his interest in aviation by making a pastime of building model airplanes. Lawrence worked his way through high school and college to earn a B.S. in chemistry from Bradley University and a Ph.D. in physical chemistry from Ohio State University. He joined the Air Force Reserve Officers Training Corps, earning the rank of lieutenant colonel. In 1967, Lawrence was selected to NASA, marking a notable step forward in race relations for that time period. Lawrence never actually made it into outer space, but his acceptance into the NASA space program marked history as he became the first African-American astronaut. Lawrence's potentially fruitful career came to an abrupt halt when his F-104 starfighter crashed at Edwards Air Force Base in California in 1967.
I've seen too many of my neighbors affected by stroke, but Highmark is helping us change that by sponsoring our community stroke programs. Caring isn't new for Highmark. I know. I've been a member for 40 years. I'm Jerry Ann Allen, and I'm better with Blue.
We're reinventing affordable health care by keeping the places we call home healthy. It's why our communities are better with Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association, subject to the terms of your benefit plan.
Hi, I'm Dr. John Chips.
And I'm Dr. Tim Chips. We have a family dental practice that's been in business for over 35 years.
We have 2 locations in the North Hills.
Mention this ad for a complimentary consultation on dental implants. Early morning and evening hours are available. Find Chips Dental on the web. Remember, Chips Dental.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win tickets to see Billy Joel at the Consol Energy Center February 21st. Plus, lots of great free stuff every week. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, and again from Gigi, sauerkraut made properly is a fermented food. It's the Eastern European equivalent of kimchi. Okay. All right. So Frank Bruni, not surprisingly, since he is gay, and he is a op-ed writer for the New York Times, has written a column about the coming out of Michael Sam. I always have difficulty when someone's name is two
first names. I know. I was thinking his name was Sam Michael, but anyway.
Well, and then I want to put an S on Sam. I just don't. Michael Sam. It's odd. Anyway. And I love part of it, because what you're hearing from a lot of men is you see what the fear is. You see what the fear is. The fear, because they start talking about the locker room, and I'll be naked, and there'll be this gay guy there, and oh my God, and he's going to want me. The fear is somehow that they are feminized.
Yeah, they'll be feminized, because he will look at them as they look at women.
That's right. So they all know how they get turned on. If they were in a locker room with women, how they would be turned on. So now they realize that since he likes men, that they then are women to him. I mean, the same in their heads. And that and it scares them. It literally...
Yeah, imagine how we feel.
Yeah, try being a woman. So here's what Frank Bruni says. Newsflash. For every straight man out there, guess what? You have been naked in front of a gay man. In fact, you've been naked over the course of your life in front of many gay men. At least if you have more than a few years on you. And here you are, uninjured, uncorrupted, intact. The earth still spins. The sun rises and sets. And do you think that would get through to them? No. No. They've already survived being naked with gay men. And then he goes on to inform these. Homophobe is the correct word. It's fear of homosexuals, right?
Right.
He goes on to say, and you know what? That gay guy who saw you naked, he probably wasn't checking you out. He certainly wasn't beaming special gay conversion gamma rays at you. That's why you weren't aware of his presence. And then he goes on to say his purpose in that locker room simply mirrored yours. He was changing clothes and showering. It's a locker room, for heaven's sake, not last call at the Rawhide. Which I assume is the name of many gay bars.
All these coaches, it really seems to be, half generational, and then the other half are just sort of, troglodytes. But the players at Mizzou certainly didn't have any problem with them.
That's what's interesting.
He came out to them in August, and
right.
to talk to not a few of them, nobody was surprised.
Nobody was surprised.
They gay man on campus.
Right. They all pretty much knew. He's been pretty open. So here he was, like one of the stars of their team, and they all knew he was gay. And it wasn't a distraction in the locker room.
No, he was
didn't
a major part of their team and a
huge part of their team.
Contributing factor to their success, and they were proud to call him a teammate.
Yeah.
We have an editorial in our paper today about this, bemoaning the fact that those young men on the football team are so much more evolved than our legislature.
Yeah, right. It's interesting that in a troglodyte state like Missouri, that you would have this football team, and they're totally cool with their gay teammate.
I mean, in Missouri, state lawmakers, have put up a law that says that you can't don't say gay bill that would ban discussion of sexual orientation in public schools. And so if that law were to pass, Mr. Sam would be referred to in Missouri textbooks as the first redacted player in the NFL.
The first redacted. Margaret has written in, and Margaret is out and gay. She was written in, I am Sam, Sam I am. That's a wonderful way to sort of a whole bunch of players should just start saying that. I am Sam, Sam I am. Just in solidarity. Anyway, this thing about, these big, tough, beefy football players who are, not afraid of anything, who will, take on anybody. There are gladiators, right? And he says, so, here's the question I have. When did the locker room, an NFL locker room, become such a delicate ecosystem? Is it inhabited by athletes or orchids? It's pretty hard to argue with that stuff.
Right.
And I was a really sort of belittling, ridiculing column by Bruni, and good for him. I'm glad. But I tell you, one of our sports columnists today said, not that he agrees with this. He said, you know what? I would not be surprised if he doesn't get drafted.
It would be a real shanda.
That's a shame.
Yes, it's more than a shame. It's a blight. It's a black mark.
Well, I don't think
this is a really talented guy. He was unanimously voted as an all-star this year. If no one takes him, it's just, ugh.
Well, I would think
Vince Lombardi would have taken him.
Yeah, I saw a column saying that there's no doubt that Vince Lombardi, even back then, would have taken him.
Yeah.
Because Lombardi only cared about one thing, that you kept, that you did your job, that you worked 120%, and that you could play. I mean, that's all he cared about. And Lombardi was notably progressive. And it seems odd that he would be, but he was. And when one of his players, I'm thinking it was Lionel Aldridge, but I don't think that's right, was dating a white woman and, in fact, wanted to marry her. It wasn't Aldridge. And this would be in the early 60s. Early 60s.
Yeah.
And he went to Lombardi and said, I want to marry this woman, but I thought I better let you know. Because he knew that he could be told, you're off the team. I can't have it. There were laws still against it. There were laws against what this guy wanted to do.
Right.
And Lombardi told him, I don't care who you marry. I don't care. Go ahead, and I'm behind you.
Well, he not only did that, but I mean, he was clear with his teammates that and with his players that discrimination of any kind would not exist on his team.
Right.
Period.
That's it.
You know, so if that's where football is, as far as I'm concerned, it would be just one more nail in the coffin of a game that's dying.
I think in your I know I've said that I think it might not last, but I think in our dreams. I don't think they're going to let it die. But they better play this one right. And it's interesting how this kid, this Sam, has now forced the NFL to deal with this issue very, very openly. He's forced their hand. And it is amazing the anonymous bleatings of people who are described as NFL officials and assistant coaches of various teams saying the most ridiculous and Neanderthal kinds of things that bespeak their homophobia and their fear.
Why they wouldn't do this.
Right, their fear.
I'm pleased to see how many players are standing up to say this is just nonsense.
Right. But
if this, I can't remember his name, but the guy that was saying if this is a distraction to you, you're already a loser.
Right, who did say that? If you're distracted by this, you're already a loser. Right, so true. Well, Suze?
Yeah.
I think we're done.
Okay, I've got a house full of people. I'm going to get to them.
You do?
Yeah.
What do you have a bunch of people for in the middle of the day? I mean,
there's just all sorts of activity.
Oh, I see. You got okay. Well, then get to it, and I thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye. And as for the rest of you, tomorrow we'll be joined by Jared Day, former history professor, and now and I keep forgetting the name of that organization. Forum for Economic Development, maybe. The Forum for Economic Development. And he really is up on what's going on, and he has definite opinions, and we will learn stuff from him, generally. Okay? So that's tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I hope Tom Sokolowski will be able to join us on Thursday, and if not this Thursday, certainly the next Thursday. He is mending well, and Friday, Chris Potter, just if you're keeping track. Okay? Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.